The text message wasn't meant for me. That's how it all started, with a simple mistake that changed everything. I was sitting in my home office, working late on a project, when my wife's phone buzzed on the desk beside me. She had left it there while she went to take a shower, and the screen lit up with a notification. Can't wait to see you tomorrow. Hotel room 237 at the Marriott downtown. Love you too. The message was from someone named Chris, and it definitely wasn't meant for a married woman's eyes. At least, not from someone who wasn't her husband. My stomach dropped as I stared at the screen, reading the words over and over again, hoping they would somehow change or make sense in a different way. But they didn't. I heard the shower still running upstairs, so I had time to think. Part of me wanted to confront her immediately, to demand answers and explanations. But something stopped me. Maybe it was the lawyer in me, or maybe it was just instinct, but I knew I needed more information before I made any moves. I took a photo of the message with my own phone, then deleted it from her device. I also went into her call log and found several calls to and from the same number over the past few weeks. My hands were shaking as I documented everything, but I forced myself to be methodical about it. When she came downstairs 20 minutes later, hair still damp from the shower, she looked beautiful and innocent. She kissed me on the cheek and asked about my day like nothing had happened. I managed to act normal, even though my heart was racing and my mind was spinning with questions. How was your day? I asked, testing her. Oh, you know, the usual, she said with a smile. Lunch with my sister, some shopping, then I came home to cook dinner for my wonderful husband. She was lying so easily, so naturally. I wondered how long this had been going on and how many other lies she had told me. We had been married for 8 years, and I thought I knew her better than anyone. Apparently, I was wrong. Over the next few weeks, I became a different person. I started paying attention to everything she did, every phone call, every text message, every excuse about where she was going. I installed tracking software on her phone when she wasn't looking, and I even hired a private investigator to follow her. What I discovered was worse than I had imagined. She wasn't just having an affair, she was having multiple affairs. Chris was just one of 3 different men she was seeing regularly. The private investigator gave me photos, hotel receipts, and a detailed timeline of her activities. But the most shocking discovery came when I looked into our finances. She had been secretly moving money from our joint accounts into a personal account that I didn't know about. Over the past year, she had transferred almost $50,000. She was planning to leave me, and she was stealing my money to do it. I sat in my office that night, looking at all the evidence spread across my desk. Photos of her kissing other men, bank statements showing the stolen money, hotel receipts, text messages expressing her love for multiple people who weren't me. The woman I had married, the woman I had trusted with my heart and my life, was a complete stranger. But instead of falling apart, I felt something else, determination. She had made a mistake by underestimating me. She thought I was just another naive husband who would never figure out what was happening. She was about to learn how wrong she was. I started planning my revenge carefully. As a lawyer, I knew exactly how divorce proceedings worked, and I had advantages she didn't know about. I also knew that timing was everything. I needed to wait for the right moment to strike. The first thing I did was protect our assets. I moved money from our joint accounts into accounts that only I could access, making sure to document everything properly so it couldn't be used against me in court. I also gathered evidence of her theft, which would be crucial in the divorce proceedings. Next, I started building relationships with her family and friends. I made sure to be the perfect husband in public, always kind and loving toward her, always asking about her day and her activities. I wanted everyone to see what a devoted husband I was, so that when the truth came out, they would know who the real victim was. I also began documenting everything she did. Every lie she told, every excuse she made, every time she said she was going somewhere but actually went somewhere else. I kept detailed records with dates, times, and evidence. I was building a case against her that would be impossible to defend. The hardest part was pretending that everything was normal. I had to kiss her good morning, tell her I loved her, and act like the devoted husband while knowing that she was betraying me with multiple men. There were nights when I wanted to scream, when I wanted to throw all the evidence in her face and demand answers. But I waited. I was patient. I knew that revenge was a dish best served cold, and I was going to make sure mine was ice cold. The opportunity one was waiting for came 6 months later. She told me she was going to visit her mother for the weekend, but I knew she was actually planning to meet Chris at a resort about 2 hours away. The private investigator had already confirmed the reservation. This was my moment. I waited until she left on Friday morning, then I put my plan into action. I called her mother and had a long conversation about how much I missed having family dinners and how we should plan one soon. I made sure to mention that my wife had told me she was coming to visit that weekend. Her mother was confused. "She's not coming here," she said. "I haven't heard from her in weeks." "Oh, she must have changed her plans," I said innocently. "She's been so busy lately with work and everything." I also called her sister and had a similar conversation. By the end of the day, several family members had called each other, trying to figure out where she actually was. They were starting to ask questions, and the foundation of lies she had built was beginning to crack. But I wasn't done. I also called her best friend and mentioned that I was worried about her because she had been acting strange lately. I said I thought she might be having problems at work or with her health, and I asked if she had mentioned anything. Her friend was immediately concerned and started asking questions. She promised to reach out to my wife to check on her. I knew this would put additional pressure on her to maintain her lies. On Saturday morning, I received a text from my wife saying she was having a great time with her mother and that she would be home Sunday evening. I screenshot the message and added it to my evidence file. Then I called her mother again. "Hi, it's me again," I said. "I was just wondering how things are going with your visit. Is she feeling better?" "What visit?" her mother asked. "I told you yesterday, she's not here." "That's strange," I said, sounding confused. "She just texted me saying she was having a great time with you. Maybe there's some misunderstanding." I could hear the concern in her mother's voice. "Something's not right here," she said. "Let me call her myself." I knew that phone call was going to be very interesting. My wife would have to come up with an explanation for why she had lied to both of us, and any story she told would just create more problems for her. But I still wasn't finished. I had one more surprise waiting for her. On Sunday evening, she came home with a big smile and a bag of gifts, supposedly from her mother. She kissed me and started telling me about her wonderful weekend, describing conversations with her mother and activities they had supposedly done together. I listened to every word, taking mental notes of each lie. She was so confident, so comfortable with her deception. She had no idea that her entire world was about to collapse. "That sounds wonderful," I said when she finished. "Your mother called yesterday, by the way." I watched her face carefully as the color drained from her cheeks. "She did?" she asked, trying to sound casual. "Yes, she was worried about you. She said you never showed up for your visit, and she hadn't heard from you in weeks." The silence that followed was deafening. I could see her mind racing, trying to come up with an explanation, trying to figure out how much I knew. I can explain," she stammered. "I'm sure you can," I said calmly. "But first, let me show you something." I went to my office and returned with a folder full of evidence. Photos of her with Chris and the other men, bank statements showing the stolen money, hotel receipts, text messages, and detailed records of all her lies and deceptions. I spread everything out on the dining room table like a prosecutor presenting evidence to a jury. Her face went completely white as she saw the extent of what I had discovered. "How long have you known?" she whispered. 6 months, I replied. "I've been watching you, documenting everything, preparing for this moment." She tried to defend herself, to make excuses and explanations, but the evidence was overwhelming. She couldn't deny what was right there in front of her. "I want a divorce," I said simply. "We can work this out," she pleaded. It was a mistake. I love you. You love me. I laughed. Which version of love is that? The one where you sleep with 3 different men, or the one where you steal $50,000 from our joint accounts? She started crying then, but I felt nothing. The woman I had loved was gone, replaced by a stranger who had betrayed me in every way possible. I've already filed the papers, I continued. My lawyer will be in touch with you tomorrow. I suggest you find representation because this is going to be a very public and very messy divorce. Over the next few weeks, everything unraveled for her. Her family was devastated when they learned the truth. Her friends turned their backs on her when the details became public. She lost her job when the scandal reached her workplace. The divorce proceedings were exactly what I had promised, public and messy. All the evidence I had gathered was presented in court, and the judge was not sympathetic to her situation. She had to pay back all the money she had stolen, plus interest and penalties. But the best part was watching her try to maintain relationships with the men she had been seeing. When they found out about each other, and when the whole situation became public, they all disappeared. None of them wanted to be associated with the scandal. She ended up alone, broke, and with a reputation that followed her wherever she went. The life she had tried to build on lies and deception crumbled completely. I, on the other hand, was free. Free from the lies, free from the betrayal, free from the constant wondering if the person I loved actually loved me back. I kept the house, most of our assets, and my dignity. 6 months after the divorce was finalized, I ran into her at a coffee shop. She looked tired and older than her years. She tried to approach me, maybe to apologize or to try to explain, but I just walked away. I had nothing to say to her. A year later, I met someone new. Someone honest and genuine, someone who understood the value of trust and commitment. We took things slowly, building a relationship based on truth and mutual respect. Sometimes people ask me if I feel guilty about how thoroughly I destroyed her life. They wonder if I went too far, if I should have just confronted her and tried to work things out. But I don't have any regrets. She made her choices, and I simply made sure that the consequences caught up with her. She had betrayed not just me, but the entire foundation of our marriage. She had stolen from me, lied to me, and planned to leave me while taking half of everything I had worked for. The truth is, she destroyed her own life through her actions. I just made sure that her deceptions didn't stay hidden forever. In the end, justice was served, and I learned that sometimes the best revenge is simply patience and preparation. I learned that when someone shows you who they really are, you should believe them. And I learned that trust, once broken, can never be fully repaired. But most importantly, I learned that I was stronger than I thought, and that I deserved better than someone who could lie to my face every single day. The woman I married was gone, replaced by someone I didn't recognize. But in losing her, I found myself again. And that was worth everything.